Well, good evening. It is a great night on PJNet Live. I am glad to see the folks gathered in anticipation. We were wondering there for a while if Wild Bill for America was going to make it, and we have brought our virtual studio onto the beautiful beaches of Daytona Beach, Florida. You see them in the background. They are not real. But nonetheless, we will bring our virtual genie. Alexa, I think is the name. And tonight is Bill's Bites. Bill has the take on the news that you will not see in the mainstream media, and he has compiled the very best of stuff you need to know. And he's standing by in our green room. And Bill, before we get started, I just wanted to congratulate you on your speech Monday night. Do you have a moment to share with us about it?
Oh, sure. I loved getting out there and meeting the Trump Club up in St. Augustine, Florida. This was a large group, and they liked what I had to say. You know me, I don't hold back, and I tried to get them fired up for 2020 because the 2020 elections are going to be honest before we know it, and frankly, I don't think our team is ready for the madhouse that it's going to be. So.
You, folks, that's on YouTube. If you go to Wild Bill for America's YouTube channel. By the way, that thing was recorded and the audio was very good. What was the setup there?
Lapel mic, Sennheiser, the one that I usually use for my videos.
Sennheiser is to the microphone and headphone world what Cadillac is to the automotive world. Folks, that's the good stuff. This stuff costs money and it's hard sometimes to justify the investment, but I have learned this, Bill: buy nice or buy twice.
Yes, and if you're going to have a successful media show, you have to have quality audio and visuals. That's what people look for. If it's hard on their ears or the eyes, they click and go to somebody else, and we can't have that.
There it is. Okay. Well, Bill, you sounded great the other night. You sound good. I'm still, compared to a week ago, I'm 100% better, but I'm still, coughing a little bit. So let me let you carry the water a little bit tonight. First note up, Trump compares homosexual. You go from there.
Well, as you know, the liberal left are a bunch of, they're like the Looney Tunes cartoon political party nowadays, and the people that they're throwing in as potential Democrat presidential candidates would be laughable if it wasn't so serious for our country. And this petite little sissy guy, little Peter Buddy guy, I don't know how you say it, but
I just call him Mayor Pete.
Yeah, he's the one that was on Time magazine. And with his so-called husband, and and my formula for picking Oscar-winning movies is this: whatever movie does the most to bring down the moral standards of America is most likely going to be your Oscar winner. Well, this guy so far is the one who is doing the most to tear down America's moral standards politically. So at this point, he is my choice for the Democrat winner, the contender, simply because of what he stands for in the USA, and that is driving a stake through the heart of the Christian moral standards of America. You know that the liberal left would want that more than anything else. That's their their number one thing.
For clarity, Bill, God is very clear on homosexuality, and I don't hate anybody. I don't hate homosexuals, alcoholics, fornicators, anybody, okay? But God has an opinion about homosexuality, and I just agree with God. Now, that being said, I'm not going after anybody's freedom of choice of their lifestyle. I find it abhorrent, but I would never write a law to prohibit someone. But, we've gone beyond it's okay if you want to do something behind closed doors to they are now celebrating it and forcing it upon, well, forcing might be a little bit strong of a word, but we're not even virtuous pagans anymore, okay?
Spoon feeding it to the youngest children, to 4-year-old children, that is forcing it.
I think
that should be illegal. We need laws protecting American kids from sexual perverts, not hand them over to them.
There you go.
And
Now
uh,
Trump's comparing him to Alfred Newman.
Alfred E. Newman, remember the guy from Mad Magazine
Oh,
with
oh yeah, with the big ears. Yeah.
and missing one tooth, and they
We're
put him.
telling our age, aren't we? I used to go to the drugstore and read I wouldn't buy it, but everybody would read Mad Magazine.
Oh yeah, Mad Magazine was the great classic. Well, Buddy Guy is the Alfred E. Newman of politics today, and Trump said Alfred E. Newman shouldn't be president of the United States. And I guess Buddy Guy, little Peter, he wrote back and said, "What, me worry?" Which for the younger audience, that was the Mad Magazine line for Alfred E. Newman. What, me worry? But can
We are
you
telling our
imagine
age, Bill.
this little petite sissy 5'2" guy going head to head with Vladimir Putin, former KGB assassin,
Mm.
and negotiating with that guy, or negotiating with Kim Jong Un, or if it comes up, actually meeting with Maduro, the Venezuelan brutal dictator. Is little Petey Buddy Guy really the guy that we want representing the United States of America? I
I
mean,
agree with you,
I would
but
rather have Pee Wee Herman in there. I mean, I think Pee Wee Herman has more testosterone. Oh well.
I hope the Venezuelan situation will have ended uh, by the time the election is cast. But anyway, Michelle Malkin back in the news, or she's always in the news, but for a different reason this time.
Yeah, she's also only about 5 feet tall. I've met her, but
She's
up
got
there.
more testosterone than Mayor Pete.
Yes, she does. And she's in the news because she is now censored by Facebook because she protested against Facebook censorship. Now, Michelle
Mm.
Malkin, she's a little fireball. I love that gal. And she's not the one that you want to try to put a gag in her mouth. So I think Facebook has pulled the pin on a little half pint hand grenade, and they're going to regret it. This censorship by the social media thugs is getting to be a serious national security concern. And with the 2020 election coming up, it appears that these social media giants are preparing to just slap down all conservative candidates and their supporters and their promises and so on. And President Trump is finally lighting up on this, and he is actually kind of threatening these guys, Facebook and Google and so on. And it's about time. Something needs to be done. These guys have become a very serious threat to American freedom.
Bill, I subscribe to your YouTube channel, and I have done the little bell thingy, where I get a little message on my phone. And I'm noticing lately that more and more often there is ads running prior to Wild Bill or Coffee with Bill, as it's now branded.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
things getting a little better on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm getting a nickel or so every time somebody clicks one of those little ads. So keep clicking, you guys.
Yeah,
You're
I click
keeping
the
me
ad
at
just to get you paid.
styrofoam coffee cups, and I'm happy. So, in fact,
And
I
that,
splurged the other day, and I got some Black Rifle coffee. Ordered it on the,
ooh,
the coffee
uh huh.
company by military veterans for Americans. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, I drank a cup of that, and for 2 hours afterwards, I was still on full afterburner.
Well, I
That,
tell you, that's not the first I've heard of that coffee, and I like my coffee strong, but I don't know if I like it flavored also. So maybe some Kahlua or collusion. Did I say collusion or Kahlua?
uh,
Uh,
you let that slip. There was definitely collusion in the election, but it wasn't the Russians. God.
across the pond, British police have what?
Oh. I am so disappointed in the British Police Department. They're liberal, they're flaming liberal government of fine British pansies. I can understand the government selling out the people, but British police officers, I've known some British police officers, and it wasn't long ago they were one of the finest police forces in the world. But now they have gone full retard on this Sharia law compliance. And that and kissing the heinies of the militant homosexual movement. I probably shouldn't put it in those terms, but you get the message. Well, I was lit up today because the British police are investigating a Catholic woman who is a commentator for using the wrong pronoun when referring to a transgender activist's daughter. Now, I don't know if it's a boy becoming a daughter or a daughter becoming a boy. Whatever it is, she didn't. She probably used the proper pronoun for that person's gender, and in England, that's now considered a hate crime. She's looking at 2 years in prison for calling a boy or a girl, whatever it is, and this is just outrageous. And the reason I bring it up, even though it's over in the UK, is because all these liberals are tied together in the UK and in the USA. They are all pushing for the same goals, and they will bring this kind of nonsense to the USA. In fact, Nancy Pelosi and her gang introduced H.R. 5. You're familiar with
Oh, boy. Yeah. That's the Equality Act, folks.
that is what will bring massive persecution against Christians from the homosexual community. So it's happening. Now this Ms. Farrow, who is the commentator who mispronounced the transgender something or other, I actually don't know what to say about that other than it's time for the British people to rise up and shame their police department. And I'm speaking as a 20-year law enforcement veteran. To the British Police Department, you guys have become a disgrace to the badge everywhere. As an American law enforcement officer, I consider the British Police Department to be an embarrassment because of your actions today in submitting to the criminals of jihad and to the militants of sexual perversion.
I think we have to build a firewall, and I noticed that the state of either North or South Carolina, in their legislative session, actually passed a law that Sharia law is invalid in that state. And so I would not be surprised to see more and more states start setting up firewalls, anticipating the reign or the attempt of law being transferred into courts of Sharia law.
Well, it's not necessarily the Sharia law itself, Mark. It's the people in power who slap the hate speech label on anything that exposes the evils of Islam. And it's our own political correctness that they're using to take down our sites and silence our posts.
Yeah,
it got me fired up. Now I'm coughing.
Yeah, we're getting to a point where I have to ask the question: is it possible to disagree without being branded criminally hateful?
Well, that's a hateful thing to say.
Well, I mean, I would hate for that to happen.
Yeah. You're triggering my hate here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take my happy pill, a Hall's cough drop, and
there you
I'll
go.
be a lot better.
Take a break. Well, moving on. There's some corrupt judges, and tell me more about this. I was glad to see it, because what I think the liberal left have found their little courts, their little candy courts, that they can always go to get a last-minute injunction to prevent a law from taking effect or the other way around. You found something that they're taking some steps so that one rogue judge can't, derail the implementation of a law. Is that the way it is? That, have I got it right?
Today or yesterday, Vice President Pence said that he is going to ask the Supreme Court to take steps to rein in these out-of-control judges. And this is a tremendous relief to me because out-of-control federal judges have done terrible harm to this country. Now, think about this. All 50 states voted down homosexual marriage until one federal judge banged his gavel and said, "You voted wrong." Bam. Forced it on the whole country. And this has happened over and over and over. Federal judges, bam. Did the people of the United States vote to remove the Bible and prayer from schools? No. Federal judge with his gavel, bam. Tore it out for the whole country. They have done things against the will of the American people that are detrimental to this country. And finally, we have a president, a vice president, who's willing to take on these black robe tyrants. America, you need to put that on your prayer list and start beating that drum. We need to sound off loud and clear on that. It's time for these federal judges to start ducking and running.
Well,
Uh,
and guess what? It doesn't make the news. It happens below the surface. But for 8 solid years, Obama has been stacking the deck of federal judges with nominees.
yeah, and Trump is trying to get some good nominees in there, but the Democrats have been blocking his appointments from day one. They will not let him be appointed. We need to start calling them out, shaming them. And, Congress has the authority to remove a bad judge, but they're afraid to set that precedent. I wish
Hmm.
they weren't. They need to follow the rule of law. And when a judge does something that is just so outrageous, Congress needs to come down hard on them. These judges have no fear of anybody, and Congress needs to change that.
I remember, and I'd have to research it, but Newt Gingrich, who, on those kind of things, I really trust his academic standards. But he says there was a time back in the 1800s where some presidents just pretty much threw some judges out, and it might be time to see that again. I'd love it. A lot of stuff going on. I see. I can't read the note here. Attacks on Jews are out of control in New York City. Well, that ain't the only place, but tell us about New York City.
Well, that's what was in the news today. There, a tremendous spike in attacks on Orthodox Jews in New York City, and the media is apparently blocked from reporting it. The political media, and the article I was reading said that the media won't report it because the attackers are overwhelmingly young black men. They won't report anything that makes minorities look bad. Now, the concern, of course, is that these attacks may be linked to Islamic Jihad. As the number of mosques grow in New York City, they deliberately go out to recruit young black men because young black men are often angry. They grow up with a chip on their shoulder. They've been told that they've been a victim all their lives. Well, it's easy to transform those young men into jihad warriors for Islam. And my concern is that that is what is beginning to happen in New York City. They're coming out against the Jews. They're coming out against Israel. And as this nation goes into spiritual darkness, Mark, we're going to see attacks on Jews and Christians, and against Israel and so on. So I just wanted to bring that up because nobody else is talking about it, and I want to give a little encouragement to the Jews of New York City. You are not alone. There are people all over this country who stand with the Jewish people. As a Christian, I stand with the Jewish people. We owe the Jewish people a debt of gratitude because of your faithfulness in preserving the scriptures and for the line of the Messiah. God stands with you, and so do we. So,
Amen.
I just
Amen.
want to send that message out to not just New York City, but also to my friends in Israel. Happy 71st birthday, Israel. Shalom, shalom. I understand that Hamas sent you about 300
300.
fireworks to celebrate your birthday. Well, I'm sorry that happened too, but with President Trump in office, maybe we will start getting some control over there. I sure hope so.
Well, and I hate to see that kind of thing happen, but the Iron Dome apparently was not working as well as expected. So we need to get that Iron Dome tweaked out to make these attacks useless, and just blow them up in the air. But
And we need to have very effective counterattacks, which will make Hamas realize that it's just not worth.
and they'll wail and scream about the counterattacks, because the collateral damage. Watch, guarantee you. When they lob those missiles from over there toward Israel, they don't know where they're going to blow up.
No, it could land on a kindergarten class.
Yeah,
And
a hospital. They don't know.
they don't care. That is one way you can tell who the good guys are from the bad guys.
Well, if they wouldn't be such cowards. I mean, if you've got an army, line them up. We got an army, we'll line it up and let's duke it out. They don't play that way. They're cowards.
Yeah, we could send the women's volleyball team over there from University of Colorado, and they could win that fight if they just stand up and fight us. But the Israeli military tries harder than any other military that I know of to avoid civilian casualties. And those poor guys that get blamed every time there's an accident.
Well, and these cowards run and hide in mosques and schools and hospitals.
They deliberately set up the Palestinian people to get hurt
Yeah,
for propaganda.
for propaganda, but they kill their own people because they know the attacks are coming, and they make those targets you know. The church in Rome is now offering exorcism classes. I think there's some exorcism that's needed. Tell me about it.
You want to go? I'll sign you up.
I don't feel demon possessed.
International Association of Exorcists. They're opening it up to the Protestants now. Well, this is in the news because they do this class every year, I guess, the Catholic exorcism class, but apparently demonic activity has taken such a sharp increase in Europe and the USA, or North America rather, that they're going to open it up to all major denominations. Now, I kind of roll my eyes at this because, frankly, the Catholic Church is not exactly qualified theologically to deal with demonic activity. I know exorcisms make for some really cool Hollywood movies, but exorcism is essentially, going head to head with the devil. And here's a wild Bill bullet of truth for the Catholic Church. The solution for demonic activity is Christian evangelism and discipleship.
Discipleship.
You guys want to learn how to deal with the devil? Open your Bibles, read them, and obey them. Enough of the silly throwing of holy water. Just simply turn people to the cross of Christ. That is the solution for demonism. I know it's not as exciting as heads turning around and green vomit flying, but that is the solution that God gives for demonic activity.
Well, I was actually a benefit of The Exorcist. I benefited from the Exorcist movie. If you will recall, back in the muscle car days, the Dodge Dart was the kind of their muscle car platform, but it was too small, so they needed to go to a larger thing. So they were moving toward the Duster. But in the meantime, they made what was known as the Dodge Demon, which had the front end of a Dart, but the back end of the future Dodge Duster. They only made that car a year and a half. You know why? The movie The Exorcist came out, so they literally accelerated the development of the Duster. So I was able to obtain and restore an old Dodge Demon. So they're so rare. I was able to really kind of. It was a very good investment. I was had an employee who restored cars, so I bought the car, he restored it, then we sold it and paid each other back for our expenses. The problem is he fell in love with the car and didn't want to sell it. But once we did sell it, it was I actually benefited from The Exorcist. But it's weird that it would literally halt production of a car mid-year. But that literally happened.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why demonic activity seems to be going up in Europe and the USA. I have my theories. What do you think?
I don't go there very often. But I'll build on the comment that I made earlier, that there was a day when sin has always existed, homosexuality has always existed, teenage unwed pregnancies, all these things that are outside of God's will, but these used to carry an element of shame.
Yeah.
But as we move forward and become more progressive, more liberal, and more secular, these things are more out in the open. So I think when we say, there's all this demonic activity, is that really an increase in activity, or is it an increase in the visibility of what's always kind of been under the, radar? What do you think?
Well, I do believe there is an increase in blatant demonic activity. And I am convinced that anytime a nation has rampant homosexuality, you're going to see demonism. They go hand in hand. And, from the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. And as the European nations and the USA deliberately march themselves down that Sodom and Gomorrah highway. They are opening the doors
Hmm.
to more brazen and more dangerous demonic activities. You
Yeah.
know, the fallen angels are real people, you know, and they have been very successful at hiding their identities here in the USA. But now that, you know, we have got child sacrifice by the millions, you know, the sexual deviancy, and we have the big kahuna of false religions building their mosques all over this country. I think the demonic forces are comfortable now showing their faces in the USA, and I expect to see more of it.
I
But
think when you reflect on literally demonic activity here on the earth, it needs to be reflected upon that when the fallen angels were kicked out of heaven, God did not diminish their power whatsoever. He diminished where they could exercise that power. He limited that to this earth. Now, let me explain to you what an angel is capable of. Look in the Bible. Go Google Hezekiah. Hezekiah was kind of the mayor of the last Israeli city that was standing. All the others had fallen to the enemy, but there was one city left, and the city was surrounded. And the surrender terms were presented, and Hezekiah took those surrender terms, kind of called a town hall meeting or whatever. He placed the surrender terms on the altar and said, "I'm going to bed." And he did. That night, the Lord sent one angel, and 175,000 enemy soldiers the next morning lay dead. That is the power of one angel. One demonic angel has no less power. Scary, huh?
yeah, and these Catholics who really don't follow the scriptures think they're going to get in the face of a demon possessed person and throw holy water on their face. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Let's stick to biblical truth, the cross of Christ first and foremost, and believing and repenting. It's
Yeah.
that simple. You know,
Satan
when you
will go
are
running. Just
indwelt with the Holy Spirit,
invoke
that
the Holy Spirit, quote scripture, and he'll go running because he can't handle it, and we can't fight toe to toe with principalities. Okay, we're fighting in the flesh. We have to fight in the spirit. Go see Ephesians chapter 6 verses 10 through 18. Bill, any more public speaking engagements coming up?
not yet, but I'm hoping to get some more. That's one thing I love doing. I love to get out there and meet the finest people in America.
Well, that's one of the differences, Bill, between your ministry and several other media icons. Is you're actually out in the public square. You go set your tripod up there right on the beaches of Daytona, and you're proclaiming the gospel for all the public to hear, as well as those on YouTube, which have thousands, of views. So I commend you for proclaiming the gospel in the public square because closet Christianity is not going to win this war.
I agree. I agree. And if you guys really want to do an exorcism, use your vote to exorcise some Democrats out of office when the day comes. So,
The day is coming when we will get to do exactly that. Well, Bill, it's a wrap, man. Bill's Bites news here on. Bill, appreciate you taking the time to do this. You do a lot of things, and I hope that you do even more. And I'm going to go watch that video again from Monday night. It was what, like 30 minutes or so,
something like that.
something like that. It was well done, and
Yeah, it's called the Trump Club on Wild Bill for America's YouTube channel. So,
Oh, tell me what the Trump Club is before we go. What is that? I've never heard of that.
this is the first one I've been to, but it's a group of conservatives who simply support the president and they stand with him through thick and thin. And the more the insane Democrats abuse the man, the more people are stepping up to be members of the Trump
The
Club.
Trump Club. What was the demographics like?
It was, of course, mostly older people, our generation, but there were some teenagers there too. A young man spoke before me who's in high school and he's planning to go be a lawyer. So he and I talked about what life might be like for a conservative Christian lawyer in the next few years. So it was encouraging to see the young people there.
Well, they turned to a good guy, Bill, and I hope that they will turn to you again and again, and others will too. Folks, if you need a speaker for your event, I certainly recommend Wild Bill for America. And if you call him and he's not available or not in your area that day, just give us a call here. We've got a team of conservative and Christian speakers who will be glad to help out. So, Bill, thanks for taking your time
Thanks,
to
right
be
now.
with us tonight. I can't wait to see what goes on next week, but we'll see you then.
All right. God bless.
All right. All right, there we go, folks. Wild Bill for America here on Saturday nights about this time, and I'm glad to see some people in the chat room tonight. I didn't get to study the questions in the chat, so if there are, I'll review those. If there are anything that I need to pass along to Wild Bill, I certainly will. And thank you for joining us tonight, right here on PJ Net Live.